You're listening to the AID Network.
Hey friends, I kid you not. The moment that I finished today's interview, left Scott Vogel's apartment, walked out on the hallway that leads up to where he lives, there was a box. I said, hey, you just got a package. When I picked it up and handed it to him, it was 100% a box of stickers from jackprince.com. I'm not lying. I swear to God, a little box of terror stickers had just shown up. They were flying to, I believe, Costa Rica to do a weekend show, wanted some merch, called Jack Prince, free shipping. They sent it to him. You know the way the stickers work, die cut, any color that you want, clear vinyl, white vinyl. You always get free lanyard printing, which means that you can print your message on the back side of the sticker, and it's always available at jackprince.com. Save money by going to jackprince.com/circle of trust. Free shipping. Why would you not do it? Hey, Tara gets her stickers printed with Jack Prince. So should you. Hey friends, all of today's music is provided by Tara. Their new album, Total Retaliation, is in stores tomorrow and online. Make sure you download it and give it a listen. It's Tara, Total Retaliation. And good design. I need you to hold my jacket because my wallet's in my front pocket, keys have been taken off the belt and placed in the other. It's time to dive in with Terra Hardcore. On the show today, hardcore legend Scott Vogel, talking Total Retaliation, how he's more pissed off than ever, and how he never had a dream. That's right, while others were busy dreaming, he was busy living the life that he always wanted, a life of hardcore. I'm your host, Mark Brickey. Welcome to Adventures in Design, episode 829.
And I found the light deep inside, and I found the light, the spirit of sacrifice.
Hey friend, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mark Brickey. I want to ask you a question. Who were you at age 15? Like, seriously, go back into your mind and think about what that person was like. Maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Am I getting closer? Was it 20 years ago when you were 15? Or was it 25 years ago? When you hear 25 years, right, the silver anniversary, you think, my God, 25 years is a whole entire life. Think about when a baby's born when it gets to 25. That's a long stretch. I mean, I love donuts, I love pizza, and I love fucking, but I wouldn't want to do any of those for 25 years straight. 25 minutes seems too much for the donut part. Now that I've got you blown up and thinking about how long 25 years is, just because I know what some of your ages are, because I can see the demographics come through on the stats here on my computer machine, now think about 33 decades. Not one, not two, but 3 decades. Think about 1988. Were you alive? At 88, the concept of the World Wide Web, aka the internet, was first discussed. Think about how much internet you're using today. I come to you via of the internet, one way or the other. In 1988, the Soviet Union began its major reconstructing towards a mixed economy, which led to, at the beginning of 88, its gradual collapse. August 11th, 1988, Al-Qaeda is formed by a young Osama bin Laden, introducing terror into the world. October 27th, our then president, Ronald Reagan, a one-time movie star, someone who came from the world of entertainment and went into politics, decides to start the process of tearing down the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, standing up to Soviet Union, standing up to Russia, telling them to tear down the wall because he'd found listening devices in a building structure. That's right, in 1988, our fucking president was so fucking badass that he said, we're not even going to let a microphone be in a room. We're not going to let the Soviets infiltrate our democracy and the way that we live our lives. That was 1988. In the sweet year of 88, Skrillex, Rihanna, Lil Dicky, A$AP Rocky, all born. The Buffalo Bills running back LaShawn McCoy was born. That year in the cinema, Die Hard would pop up, Beetlejuice, still haven't seen it. And in music, U2 would release Rattle and Hum, and Public Enemy would make a record that's so important, it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. That album, if you look at where we're at today in media 30 years later, you're just starting to see people make stuff that's that shocking, that's that jarring. My point is, friend, the world has changed in 30 years. Society has changed. Art has changed. Basically, everything has changed since 1988. I know I sure have, several times. But a major change that happened in 88 was that today's guest, Scott Vogel, went to his first hardcore punk rock show. And as the world has changed, and he has too, he's evolved. I don't want to paint him as a one-dimensional character. But he went to a punk show in 1988, and for 3 decades, he has pushed on as a contributing leader, member of the hardcore community. I asked Scott in today's interview, I said, Scott, did you have a dream? And if so, are we in it? Are we far away from it? Like, is this the way that you always thought life would turn out for you? And he told me in a way that I very much believe him, that not really, that he never really had a dream, which made me think that I guess what he does have is a dream. And that maybe all of us that spend all of our time dreaming instead of our time living, maybe we're the unhappy ones, or maybe we're the ungrateful ones because we're so restless where we're at that in our dreams we think that we can find something better. Maybe a man who doesn't dream is a man who's content, is a man who's exactly where he wants to be, doing exactly what he wants to do. Today's episode, sure, it's about being in a band, it's about hardcore, it's about working hard, but what it's really about and what I wanted to focus on, because everyone can relate to this, whether you're a new listener, hello, welcome to the show, or you're somebody who's tuned in for all 828 others, today's show is really about focusing in on finding what you love and not letting go of it when so many other people do. When trends come and go, people get in, people get out, you stay the course because it was never about them. It was always about you. And you love something so much that it almost kills you, that it destroys your spine. One of the most important parts of being a human and being upright and being able to be mobile and walk around. But you deteriorate it. You tear it apart. You have to get it replaced. Well, partial replacement. I know I'm getting dramatic and that's not scientifically possible. But the man destroyed his spine. He also destroyed some relationships. And sometimes doing what you love at the level that you love it, it'll make you a dick. It'll make you drink too much. Because I believe in that regard, you don't care about the rest of the world because you're in your world. You possess what you love. And others that can't see that can't understand how the band works or can't understand your life and your life decisions, it's either you're with me or you're against me when you're in love, when you find something that matters this much. And I don't want to paint Scott as a selfish individual because he does care about the rest. Because Scott's not somebody who just wanted to be in a band to be a rock star. He knows that good music always has a message. And a good singer is first a great talker, a communicator of ideas. And this is a man, when he's not on the road, flying around the globe, sleeping in a van, sleeping in the worst hotel, playing the shittiest little club. He sits on his couch in North Hollywood, watching endless CNN, trying to find a way to explain his anger of the world that we live in today, 3 decades later. He absorbs all of these things that he can't identify with, that he can't say no to, that he can't shut off. He consumes this world, struggles in himself to try to find a way to break it down into a language, into a culture, so that the next 15-year-old that goes to his first show can understand the world better. and understand his world better. Today, I take you into the world of Scott Vogel, who I've known for over 20 years, and I can tell you, without a doubt, this guy is the real fucking deal. Scott Vogel on Adventures in Design 829.
I know the pain you feel. Too well, it's all too real. You and I, we can't deny. We got something in common. The disregarded, the unwanted. Left to ask what we've done to deserve it. But now I'm at peace, it's meant to be. This world never wanted me.
So, thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you. Man, oh man, I was trying to figure this out. We met each other in 1995? Does that sound right?
That sounds about right.
Doesn't that sound
Despair Days?
Despair Days.
Initial Days?
Initial Records Days. And just work me through this. This is something I've been dying to know. Where did you live in Buffalo? Because I remember going up to your house in a domesticated neighborhood next to a Tops, and I ended up living in Buffalo for 10 years.
Okay.
A while later than that. And I would always think, wonder where that Vogel house was.
My parents' house?
You were living with a girlfriend at the time, maybe.
Okay, then that was probably on Sheridan in Tonawanda.
Tonawanda.
Probably.
Man, that's so crazy because I would always go, I know the very first time I came to Buffalo, I pulled up to Scott Vogel's house. And I would always, now that you live in LA, you probably sometimes remember when you came here on tour and it was just like a blur. It was just like a patch of different memories. But when you live here, every now and again, you can still look at it the way you saw it the first time.
Right. LA, I don't think I would ever be able to figure. I still haven't figured LA out, and I've lived here for like 20 years. But Buffalo, you can probably figure out. So Sheridan in Tonawanda.
Yep.
And then after that, we had like the Buried Alive house.
Yeah.
Which was right on Elmwood.
Oh, okay.
And then my last house, you maybe
425.
Right.
We were roommates.
Right.
Kinda.
So that was the last place.
Yeah.
And then I was out of there.
425 was my U.S. address because, when September 11th went down, they did a lot of different rules. And apparently, I was living like a terrorist because I had a bank registered to a P.O. box. My home address was a P.O. box. Like I was
and you were never seen?
Yeah, and I was doing everything the way that you're not supposed to. So 425 became my address. But this is what I wanted to start about. In hardcore, there's a saying, right? True till death, right? You know that? Have you ever heard that saying before?
Yeah, and I'm gonna live it out. I'm living it out.
That's what I wanted to say. Is there's the saying "true till death," and it normally was associated to straight edge. And I've decided that 55. By the way, I'm still straight edge, but at 55, I decided I'm going to retire from straight edge. Now I will still be drug free.
Okay.
But I think that I've given the company my best life.
You're going to be straight.
I'll just be straight. So I'm going to get a True Till 55 tattoo and prove, hey, man, I went 55 years. I gave the best years of my life to the company. But no, man, like you are true till death. Like you are still in hardcore, still the guy on the stage, still, moving back and forth.
On the front lines, I like to call it.
On the front lines, moving to the chugga chugga guitar parts and just the kids piling in front of you. Like I think about, and I mean, no disrespect to this, but so many of us look at that as a chapter way back when in our lives. And we've gone here, since that front day or that first day in front of your house in Tonawanda, I literally feel like I've been 4 or 5 different people. And you've just been staying the course and being Johnny Hardcore.
Can I be Scotty Hardcore?
But I mean, yeah, because John Vogel's an actor, right? We're going to get into some problems there. But no, I mean, it's just wild that you've been able to literally make hardcore your life. And I don't know, other than the guys in Sick of It All and maybe Toby Morris, I can't think of anybody else on that list.
I mean, there's some more. We've got the Josta.
Oh, right. But I mean, Jamie's kind of...
Agnostic Front would be top of the list, probably.
Yes.
But yes.
My first show, by the way.
Really?
1989.
Good first show.
Yeah.
I'd give mine to DRI.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm not going to lie, I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And I fantasize.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like I said to you before we started, I haven't worked another job in 15, 16 years. So, on one hand, it's the coolest fucking thing in the world. And, you know, I bet if you asked 100% of the hardcore kids right now in hardcore bands that are 19 or 20,
Right.
do you want to be Johnny Hardcore in 25 years? They would say, fuck yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, how old were you when you went and saw DRI?
14.
14. So
So
you,
I'm 45, so
yeah, quite the
do the math.
distance.
I'm not gonna lie though, it's a tough road. It's a tough road, and a lot of bumps in the road, and
Right.
people lost
Right.
along the way. But I'm not gonna lie, if Terror ended today and I didn't play a show for 8 months, I'd probably lose my fucking mind.
Yeah,
Probably 3 months would be the greatest 3 months of my life.
Right.
Where I don't have to think about what merch designs, and I don't have to think about is the van rented, and I don't have to think about are people going to show up to the show, and
Yeah.
all the things that I'm micromanager, crazy micromanager. So all that would be gone. My body would probably heal a little bit. I'd be doing stuff that I miss out on all the time, but probably at the 3-4 month mark, I would just book a show and do a solo show.
sign me up for that one. Can't wait to hear how that turns out. But I mean, isn't that kind of part of turning something that you love into a career? Is that I bet you love your job more than ever, but that probably overlaps with resenting it more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that the biggest thing now that I hate is literally flying. I hate, like, we go to Europe, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year, and then
Yeah.
you put in a Japan tour with a 14-hour flight each way, and starting on the East Coast, and festivals on the East Coast, which is a 5-hour flight. And like, I'm on planes all the time, and I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like now flying is just so uncomfortable, and it's like just so negative, and just getting searched, and big delays, and waiting, and you have to be there early, and then you land, and then your bag doesn't show up, and then I hate flying so much. I hate it.
People used to respect flying. People used to put on their best clothes for it.
Right.
It was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're going to get on an airplane. And now, much like Disneyland, everybody's in pajamas. Everybody's just taking it for granted. I mean, I've never seen so many children in my life. Like, basically, it's a Greyhound bus with wings.
Very true.
And you just have to live in this little community, and you're just so locked in there.
Disrespectful community.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everybody, it's one of those moments, a lot like living in LA and being out on the highway. And like in that moment, everybody is worried about themselves and they don't care about anyone else. And I'm sure there was a glitz and a glamour to, oh my God, I can't believe my band got asked to go play Japan. Like, I'm going to go to the other side of planet Earth and meet a whole community of kids that are just like me, except for there's 5,000 miles between us, or however far away that is. And that is probably really appealing the first, second, and third time. And it's probably fun when you're on that stage and you're there in that moment. But just the foreplay, right, of getting ready and packing and doing all the work that you say, like, that's the part that grinds you down, right?
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. Like a place like Japan is a little bit special, so it's a little bit easier to swallow. But it definitely, like, we go to Europe so much, and I love Europe. And if it wasn't for Europe and the love we get over there, I don't know how much of a full-time band we would be. But you know, I'll, like, you know, my sister will write me and she'll be like, what are you up to? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Europe tomorrow. And she'll be like, oh my God, I've never been there. And in my head, I'm like, motherfucker, the last thing I want to do right now is go to Europe. So it's really kind of sad because I'm living the hardcore dream, but after 16 years, it does become like, oh shit, this again.
But also, you're going to Europe is way different than if your sister goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I see the dirtiest club.
Right.
I'm on a schedule.
Right.
I know I'm gonna sweat and then take a cold shower.
We're not ripping pics in front of the Eiffel Tower, right?
No.
We're in the worst
right.
spots possible,
Right.
and it's always like the thing that I always remember about being in the band is it almost always feels impossible, like it's not going to happen until the minute it's like you guys are on. Like things get lost, things don't happen, people aren't there, people don't show up. Like it's just a complete day of utter chaos until you get to go out on that stage and conduct the chaos for 45 minutes or an hour. But man, I think that it is so impressive to meet someone that fell in love with something when they were young and just stayed the course. We live in a moment in time where there's 1,000 different voices. There's 1,000 different opportunities pulling you every which way. Like, think about how simple TV or music used to be. And now we are just flooded with options all the time. And you found something that you loved enough, or maybe you were too stubborn to give up on. and that's not
A little bit of both.
That's not a story we hear that often anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. It's With Terror in the early days, we had some lineup changes, and then for the last 9 years, we had the same lineup. Our bass player just left and got married, and kind of respectfully said, "I've had enough of living this craziness." So we just got a new bass player, but we had the same lineup for 9 years. So the early days of Terror, and before that, you would lose members because they met a girl, and probably the girlfriend said, if you go to Europe, I don't know if I'll be here when you get back.
Right, right.
And they said, fuck the band. I'm going for the girl. And or a job or college, or I was too much of an asshole and we butted heads too much. So there's a million reasons. But, all of the love of hardcore aside, which we'll probably talk about throughout this thing, I would guess. Luckily with Terror, like all the other bands I've ever been in, we put out one album tops, and then it disintegrated due to whatever reason, mostly maybe because of my insanity. But luckily with Terror, we found the right people, and we went through the crazy times, we went through the drunk times, we went through the too many fights at the shows times, we went through the band members punching each other in the face times, and probably over the last, 5 years, we've really, I want to say, matured, and we've all kind of became adults. And there's still some insanity, and there's still a wild night here and there, but it's kind of like adult touring now.
Right.
And then I had a surgery maybe 2.5 years ago. Yeah. And getting through that and everyone having a good 6 months off, it really changed the course of the band, where like, okay, for the sake of our heads and also our health, our mental health and our physical health, let's not tour 9 months a year. Let's say no to some things. Let's pick and choose things. And it's really been like the biggest, I don't want to say my surgery and how fucked up it was a blessing in disguise. But if we can take a good thing away from it, it slowed the band down, and it made us realize, like, if we're going to keep doing this, let's do it at our own pace. Because there was a good 10 years where we were on the road like 8 months a year, which is fucking insane. It's fucking insane.
8 months on the road is like 8 years crammed into 1 year. And, the analogy that I've started to really use with life, and this is what I use when, right when my band started to get its best opportunities, we were just too exhausted to reach out and grab what we'd worked so hard to achieve. And I've started to realize that a career, and I think that your career is a lot like mine, in that it's kind of like boxing, Like,
I love boxing.
You want to come out, you want to throw haymakers, you want to just try to take your opponent out, because we all have fantasized about the dude that did it one time, got discovered, changed his life forever, found money, found success, and it was a happy ending. But that first round knockout, it doesn't happen very often. And the key to winning in boxing is just outlasting your opponent. And
winning each round.
Yeah, and just
not winning the first round.
Knowing how to duck, knowing how to breathe, knowing how to just keep your stamina going. And I think that, taking that break for you guys probably got you on a better rhythm of, okay, we can't keep going this hard, or we're literally going to just burn ourselves out.
Yeah, I've been asked a lot too, like, what is the formula for terror lasting so long?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing I always think of is like we never let the highs affect us too much, and we never let the low, because there's a lot of ups and downs.
Sure.
Your fan base is very fickle, and kids in the hardcore scene are around for a year and they have the biggest mouth for that year, and then they're completely gone. So you're like, this motherfucker just dogged me out and told me how fake I was or my band sucked, and he is like gone. And
he works at Google now.
I've been
in the
doing
Valley.
this for 30 years. Like,
Yeah.
And you know, your ego gets hurt, but you got to kind of like, you know, we've always been the band that will like go to Europe and get this opportunity to play like a With Full Force festival where we're literally playing for 20,000 people. And the next day, that was the Saturday festival, and the Sunday we're playing a 150 cap room without a stage.
Right.
And we always just the 2,000 or the 20,000 person festival was amazing, and we did it and we ripped it. But the next day we were just as excited to play the 150 cap room, and it doesn't sound as good and it doesn't look as good on Instagram.
Right.
But it's still who we are. So we never let those things, like, we never let the highs get to us and be like, why the fuck would we play this show now? And we never let, when the 20,000 festival offers weren't coming in that year, we didn't say, oh, it's time to break up. We just said, fuck it. We can go book a headlining tour. It'll be fine. You know, like, you just got to go with those highs and lows and not let them like dictate you.
Right.
You got to dictate you and go where you're going to go.
I think we just live in a society where people let success define them, and we're constantly reminded of other people's success, right? Because when you and I first got into hardcore, you would see a zine, and it would be black and white photos with the band's label put over it, and the band didn't exist between the zine, the live show, and the record. But now if you're a fan, you can go to Instagram Live and you can see pics and you can see who's in tour buses and who's living it, who's balling, right? And I think that sometimes can really mess with you. But tomorrow, the band's 6th album drops, Total Retaliation. 6 albums, man.
I want to say it's more than 6.
I was counting up as studio albums. I believe we're at 6.
I believe we're at more.
More than that?
Lowest of the Low is our first record.
Okay.
Do you want me to count these on
Let's
air?
count them out, man.
That's maybe considered an EP, but it's like 9 songs. Then we got One with the Underdogs, Always the Hard Way, The Damned, The Shamed, Keepers of the Faith, Live by the Code, The 25th Hour. So it's either 7 or 8.
7 or 8. Well, somebody needs to update that goddamn Wikipedia entry, because I was counting up 6. But the album comes out tomorrow, and it's weird because Terror started in 2002. And 15 years ago, the word terror...
Christ.
Yeah. The word terror was just becoming the thing that we'd hear on the news all the time. You know, the terrorists, there's terror out there. People are trying to reap terror on our country. But it's weird because in the 15 years, a word that I don't feel like I'd heard the first 15 years of my life, it's just become this narrative, right? That's existing like in culture, in dialogue. People use it to scare each other. But for you guys, it's just like you're this constantly grinding machine. Others come and go. You guys stay the course. You don't try to become an arena band. You don't try to become a guy who sings choruses all of a sudden. Like, you just are the template of hardcore, and you keep grinding and you keep grinding. And I bet probably if there's any resentment, it's that kids come in, find you, kids freak out about you, kids love you, kids learn to resent you.
True. It's true. I don't know if I'm off here, but it seems like the hardcore scene, kids, I mean, too, because I'm the same way. If I get a demo put in my hand, my first thought is, I'm probably not going to sure that I'm going to like this.
Yeah.
Like, a very judgmental scene, very fickle, very, even within hardcore, there's so many subsections of hardcore. Like, I only listen to Youth Crew.
Right.
I only listen to the hard shit. I only listen to bands that sound like Madball. I only listen to bands that sound like Gorilla Biscuits. Like, there's so many subsections. I mean, I don't want to go down that road. I've spent a lot of time in my life being negative about the scene and feeling a certain way. But, I mean, I'll just come out and say that I love hardcore and I believe in hardcore. I believe in the community. But it is judgmental. It's very judgmental.
Well, aside from hardcore, what I've just learned now that I've lived my life a few different times, there's this thing about where people discover you and they get addicted to whatever you're doing, whether it's art or music or, being a podcast personality. And it's weird, like fandom does this weird thing, and I never really use the word fandom, but it works in this instance where people kind of get obsessed with something and then almost like to sort of prove to themselves that they've graduated past it. It's like they have to almost put down the person that they used to idolize. And I'm sure you've maybe experienced that once or twice, right?
Another thing is, when you're a band that's going on your 7th or 8th album,
who knows?
We're also
somewhere between 6 and 8.
Right. We're also now like an older band,
right?
And the kids are younger, and it's hard to stay relevant. It really is, because most hardcore kids are 19, and they're looking at the bands that are more in their age bracket that are everyone likes a new thing. Like,
right.
I know most of my favorite bands, like let's take Hatebreed. It's a band I love.
Yeah.
I've always loved since their demo, and I love them up till now. If I go to pick my favorite Hatebreed album, it's not 4, 5, 6, or 7. It's 1, 2, or 3.
Right, you're going back to the classics.
Shit. It's the shit you get at first. It's the first taste of it that like really slaps you in the face, and then you're really attached to that. So anybody that's ridden with Terror from day one and is still here, that's like the ultimate compliment.
Right.
Because I know how it is. Like, even hip-hop, I love hip-hop. When I look at my favorite Nas record, it's sure fucking not the thing he just fucking did with Kanye West.
Right.
It's his first record.
You love hip-hop music.
Fuck yeah.
It's unbelievable how similar it is to hardcore.
It's unbelievable how, for me, the lyrics mean everything.
Yeah.
Of course, I need the beats to be up my alley. Just like hardcore, I need the music. But if the lyrics aren't saying anything in hardcore hip-hop, it's probably going to take a back seat to something that has lyrics that move me. And just like the whole being on a cool label, having a cool... I use the term crew, and like having a cool crew around you, like Digging in the Crates crew or something. A lot of these people have their own labels and do their own merch and like tour themselves, and it's the similarities are insane. So, besides hardcore, that's probably the type of music that spoke to me the most.
The thing that I enjoy about both of them, and this has got to be ingrained in your DNA, being a kid that was born in Buffalo, New York, during some of the worst times that city's gone through, is both hardcore and hip-hop are always about the come-up story, right? It's about fighting, not for what you are entitled to, but fighting for what you rightfully feel like belongs to you, right? And sometimes it's about the scene and the unity and why are we fighting amongst ourselves? Why can't we move this thing forward? Like, to me, the parallels are unreal. It's a cultural difference on the same sort of storyline.
I could not fucking imagine what it would be like to live in New York City from, I'll say, other people could come up with different years. Let's say like 87 to 93.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Hardcore and hip hop
at the same time.
Just if you would take like those 5 years and make a list of the 100 coolest hardcore bands and 100 coolest hip hop artists and be like, this was all coming out of New York City in this time, it's like mind-blowing. It's fucking mind-blowing.
Hey friends, I hope you're enjoying today's episode with Scott Vogel of Terror. Don't forget the new album drops in stores tomorrow everywhere. It's called Total Retaliation, and you can find it wherever you get music these days. But check it out. It's well produced, it's hard as fuck, and all of the music you hear in today's episode is off the album. Thank you so much to Terror for letting us share your music on the show. Thank you, Scott Vogel, for coming on today. Here's how the show works. As you've noticed, you haven't been bombarded with a ton of ads. And then you're thinking to yourself, but how can he do 829 of these and be here Monday through Friday, 200 episodes a year without taking money? Well, the show is funded by you, the listener. If you're a new person that wandered in here today, here's how it works. The first hour of the show is always free. The second part is the bonus content to my supporters, to my investors, the circle of trust. Each and every day, you unlock the second part of the episode to hear the full story and to get the archive. We keep episodes like this for free for about 30 days. Then they go behind the paid wall where we have over 820 episodes, just like today, where it's real talk, having a good time, learning a little something, but mainly keeping you company while you build yours. And if you think to yourself, but the name of the show is Adventures in Design and I'm not an artist, don't worry about it. I'm not either anymore. I retired. I've interviewed several people from the music scene. Anthony Green, Sergio from Sam I Am, Garrett from Texas is the Reason. And many people from behind the scenes in the music industry. Tom Zutat, who discovered Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, and Metallica. What a career that is. I've interviewed presidents of networks, people that run global brands like Adidas, Bobby Hundreds of the said Hundreds, professional skateboard legend Ed Templeton, Larry Obama of Tracker Trucks, and the great Jim Phillips. It's a crossroad of people that have done one thing that they have in common with the other. They have designed happiness into their lives. And when you design happiness into your lives, the product shows, the people that you know see it, and you feel it. And this is that adventure of designing happiness into your life. To support the show, we're here every Monday through Friday. Simply visit AIDpodcast.com, sign up, become a member of the Circle of Trust, unlock the full part of today's episode, as well as our archive of over 820 episodes. What do you say we get back into today's interview with my friend, Scott Vogel of Terror? And don't forget, Total Retaliation out tomorrow wherever you download music. And coming next week on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/adventures in design, you can see video segments of today's interview. For a kid like me, the importance of It Takes a Nation of Millions, and to listen to She Watched Channel Zero, whatever the name of that song is by Public Enemy, because it had Scott Ian playing guitar on it and it had that Anthrax sensibility, I was able to understand how it all worked. And I literally remember being in that moment in my life where if it was metal, if it was punk, if it was hip hop, it was all kind of scary and underground. And you could like all of those things at the same time. And you could put on one record to another and your friends would be like, oh yeah, this is so good. This is so great. And it's weird how as all of that got bigger and bigger, it just separated people further and further. And there was a moment where those bands could play the same club, you know, and everybody'd come out to see their friends, but stay for the other ones. And like, I just don't even think that could happen these days.
Yeah, it's very, I mean, there's Jedi Mind Tricks, you know them?
Mm-hmm.
They're a hip hop group from Philly who their MC is Vinny Paz, this rapper that's from Philly, and he grew up in the hardcore scene. Like me and him can talk about hardcore for hours. He knows just about everything about hardcore. And at a certain point, he hit us up like, does Terror want to like do a remix of one of his songs? So we did that, and we met, and now we're like friends. And I've tried so hard. I don't want to say that. I've tried to do a show where it's Jedi Mind Tricks and Terror because I would just love to see how those crowds mesh.
Yeah.
But it hasn't fucking happened. So we played with Necro once. Yeah. The rapper from New York in London. That was kind of cool. And I've seen like Trash Talk does a lot of stuff with a lot of rappers. But yeah, it's weird. Like the similarities are so close, but the scenes aren't like hand in hand.
No, the similarities are still very close, but it seems miles apart to where those worlds exist these days. So, Scott, when you've been grinding as long as you have, and obviously life is a lot different when you're in your mid-40s and the testosterone levels drop and you start to think about weird things like, I don't know, retirement and savings accounts. Is it hard for you to still write lyrics? Like when you work on the new album, like what do you write about at this moment? Like, how do you make it to where that 19-year-old kid that just got off of work, that just got his first car, that's just figuring everything out for the first time, how do you get him involved and line up your experiences where you're singing about something that you believe in, but something that appeals to him?
It's not hard to write lyrics, and especially with, you know, I wake up every morning and turn on CNN every morning.
Yeah.
Whether it's for 20 minutes or 3 hours in the background. So I'm watching the news every day. And whether we're talking about our government or just showing her what's going on around the world, there's a lot to write about. The problem I have with writing lyrics is my vocabulary is only so big. So when I'm referring to things it's hard not to say the same thing again. Even when you're talking about a different situation, the same type of terms might come up, and you don't want to do that.
Right.
So looking for like a fresh way to say something, because, you know, when you have conversations with people, you talk in the way you talk. So finding fresh terms is sometimes hard, not finding new topics. So that's really the only problem I have. But I mean, I'm older, but I'm still angry.
Yeah.
And I still have battles to fight.
Yeah.
And I still go out and see things that make me totally inspired. And I still, you know, I said that thing about demos before, but I still go see bands that completely blow me away. Like young bands, like kids that are 17 that give me goosebumps and remind me of why I'm still here and why I started doing this. And those are the times that I write. I don't write like when I'm in the van. I'm like, all right, we got a 5-hour drive. I should write a song, because that's just going to be me forcing something out. When I see that band and I think, I still love hardcore, this still means so much to me, there's kids bouncing off the walls, that might make me write a song about the love of hardcore, which, you know, I don't want to use the term keepers of the faith again, but I do want people to know that I still care. At the same time, I'm watching CNN and I see some crazy shit going on, how bad people are to each other, how human beings are just terrible, greedy fucking people. But I've already said the world's on fire. You better watch yourself.
Right.
I got to find a different way to say it. But I think kids can still relate to that because they're living in this fucked up world too. And they found the escape of hardcore and they want something to believe in.
The thing that I was the most amazed about in my years of being a songwriter is if you write it properly, it can be very specific to you. It can be about the love of your dog and how you found the best friend of your life and how learning how to take care of this dog in turn taught you how to take care of yourself during the lost years. But if you write it just right and you use the word you and I and you put the emotions in there, you've now created an emotional template that the listener, they become the I, their desire becomes the you. And what was written about the love and bond of a dog could be about a father that just passed away or a best friend that just commit suicide. So it's a really interesting way of like, if you write it about the emotion, but leave it loose and keep out names and don't drop Trump's name in there or whatever it is, it can be a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I think to me, that was always the most powerful thing about being a songwriter is how you can empower other people through things that are very personal to you. And once it goes into their CD player or on their turntable or in their iPod or their iPhone, like it's now a part of their life and they interpret it and it means 100% what they think that it means.
Yeah. When I watched the Descendants documentary,
that thing's great.
Bill Stevenson's talking about, I think it's that song like One More Day Like Yesterday. And he's talking about writing the lyrics. And I always thought it was about a female. And he was talking about his father passing away. So it's exactly what you're talking about. He's talking about his father. And in my head, it was always about a female. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about lyrics. If you speak from your heart, people are almost going to feel the emotion and the reality, and they don't have to have lived the exact same thing. But if it's a joy or a pain, they can wrap their heads around it because they've been through those same things. Yeah. And I feel too like, you know, like I've never been straight edge. I've never wanted to go down and...
You fucking sell out.
Bullshit. I'd sell out if I went straight edge. I've been not straight edge for so long. I've never wanted to burn down a drug dealer's house, but when I heard Earth Crisis Firestorm, I felt that shit. Like, that's so intense.
I am straight edge. I've never wanted to burn down a drug dealer's home. I hear that song, and I'm like, yeah, man, we need to fucking purify.
Right.
Where's the gasoline at? Let's get this going.
So... I've been asked before, like, how can you sing along to straight edge bands? I'm like, so you can't sing along to a fucking crazy Murphy's Law song?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I think
I completely respect and enjoy and feel lyrics that I don't agree with, but I know that when I know that the person is coming from their heart and honest and really putting it out there, because I think that's what hardcore music, and maybe hardcore music for sure, but I think any underground music, that's what separates us from radio rock.
Right.
We're saying something.
Right.
We're saying something that we really feel, and I don't have to agree with it. I can respect it.
Yeah. Do you feel like at this moment in your life, after 6 or 8 records, do you feel like you still have a lot more story to tell?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, the ultimate compliment someone can give me is like, your lyrics mean a lot to me. Your lyrics did something for me. Your lyrics moved me. Your lyrics helped me. And, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I get that kind of a lot. So as long as I can keep finding a place where people can relate and kids can relate, then I'm going to be here.
The feeling of being young and everything feels disruptive in your life, like mom and dad don't understand you, school feels like a joke, like you're old enough to see the world kind of as an adult, but everybody's still treating you like a child. Those choruses that you could just put on and that would empower you and make you feel like, man, I got this. I fucking got this. Like, nobody understands me. Everybody's against me. I don't have a pot to piss in, but I have got this. The strength that comes from hardcore music or positivity or empowerment, whether it's hip hop or hardcore, like that feeling, man, to give that to somebody else, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give another human that you'll never even meet.
When we're in the middle of a set and someone just jumps up on stage and like starts screaming in my face and they know every lyric, and I can see that they're just living those lyrics. It's like taking over their body. It's like, I'll just be like, here, take the microphone.
It's yours.
It's all yours. I get to do this every night. It's your time. So, but I mean, yeah, that's the ultimate thing for me, to just get that, like, not like an ego thing, but to know that I'm like touching people and they can feel what I'm feeling. That's like the ultimate thing for me. And then when you go to the Philippines,
right,
and there's 100 kids singing your lyrics, like that far, that they're living a completely different life than you, but hardcore's that universal. That's like that's like next level.
And it goes to show the universal language of the struggle, the come up. Right. That kids that don't live in the same material world that we live in, don't know the same like structure that we have in our society, they do know that they want to feel empowered.
They might need it more than we do.
Absolutely. It would speak to them probably more than it could relate to a kid over here of privilege. With the crazy political climate that we live in, right, and a country that really feels divided, do you let the politics get into the music? Do you try to keep it sort of abstract? I mean, I would bet that when the election goes down, someone like yourself that knows all of America, you don't just know the 4 hip cities. You know every nook and cranny of these 48 United States. I don't count the other 2. You probably are not surprised by the way that the vote goes because you have a vibe on the way that the real America looks.
It's not surprised, but it's sad. I'm fucking sad. It's like, aren't we better than this?
I would have thought so by now.
Aren't we smarter than this?
Yeah.
Haven't we seen enough to learn lessons from mistakes made? Like, it's not surprising, but it's fucking sad. And I mean, to get more direct to your questions, you're right. I'm not going to throw the word Trump in our lyrics, but I can't deny that a lot of the feeling and like this new record is definitely the most aggressive, pissed off terror record maybe since our very first record. And it's a direct reflection of just this world is really fucked up right now.
It's been a wild 2 years since you put out a record.
The United States is like the forefront of fucking insanity.
Yeah.
And that's sad. Like,
sometimes you're a representative of America.
Yeah, Europe is very, and I'm not Mr. Politics. I've never been very political, but I can't ignore it right now. I need to know what's going on. And like, you'd go to Europe before and people would kind of slight you like, oh, you're stupid American.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
fuck, man, please don't say anything to me because I don't want to like hang my head in shame.
Yeah.
It's like really sad. And I don't know, like, did you ever see, I think the movie's called Campaign with Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like, they're like punching babies in the face.
Yeah.
It's like literally what's going on every
Yeah.
day. Like when Trump said when he said he grabbed a pussy,
Yeah.
I was like, how can this not be over? But it wasn't even close to over.
Yeah, the problem with him is nobody knows how to fight him because he fights dirtier than anybody. But if you try to turn the other cheek, he just keeps going at you. Like the guy's a complete political animal. Like he's so far out of boundaries. He's the Happy Gilmore of politics, right? Like he's so out of bounds that nobody even knows how to combat it.
There's like no way to like even look at how to combat him because it's every day he's doing something that's never been done before or is unbelievable.
Yeah,
and
unprecedented.
He just does it and says, "I'm the shit."
Yeah. So when you're living in that world and there's this much kind of, there's just this narrative of negativity and things being so different than the world that we had, 6 years ago or the world that you and I were brought up in, does that find its way into the record? Because I know that I carry it around on my subconscious and I try not to talk about it too much on here, but I also feel like I have a certain responsibility that I feel like art has to react to the times that's nurturing it. And right now, the most punk rock thing that's happening is there's this new form of black media, like the film Black Klansman that Spike Lee just made, and Sorry to Bother You, and Atlanta, the TV show. Like, to me, that's the most punk rock thing that's happening right now, is that sort of voice of, we're sick of this, we're standing up against this. Like, I find that to be very punk, but I keep seeing the headlines get worse and worse, and I keep waiting for the art to respond, and sometimes I feel like the distance between what's happening and the response is vast to the point where it really depresses me.
Like when a rapper gets dissed and they wait and never come back with something.
You need that diss track right away.
I mean, look at the title of the record, Total Retaliation. It's just like about enough's enough talk. I mean, I'm not Mr. Militant and I'm not Mr. Political, but it's just like the time to just say to yourself, oh, things are going to change. It's going to come around. Things are going to get better. Like, it's just, that shit doesn't happen. Things are just getting worse and worse and worse. So the climate of the world right now absolutely affected this record. Even take all the lyrics out, you just listen to the music.
Yeah.
I mean, there's maybe one riff that has any sort of melody. And if you know Terror, we're not a melodic band, but throughout a record, there will be melodic elements to it, but those are gone. And everything that's heavy is just heavier. And everything that's faster is just, it's still fast, but every note is hitting with a little bit more fury. So, and this isn't a ploy to talk about how great Terror is or how awesome this record is, because I'm not that type of person, but the record's just pissed off because everything you see in this world is pissed off. And there is one or two hints of like, thank God for the hardcore scene and thank God for the people I've met through the hardcore scene.
Right.
But 98% of the record is, look at humanity. This is fucking disgusting. You better fucking strike back or you're going to be fucking gone soon.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a time to fight. And the name is pretty spot on, and I love the name of the band too. I mean, it's small, it's to the point, it's not a sentence. Like, it merchandises so well. Like, I would love to know how many T-shirts you've made in your career. Like tens of thousands,
if you look
right?
around at my plush apartment, yeah, I mean, we do pretty good on merch, and yeah, the word. I mean, it has its downside, like going to the airport where Terror is spray painted all over your gear.
You know who I always think about?
Paperwork, and you have a bag with 3,000 Terror stickers.
Yeah.
Not the greatest thing, but it does work well once you get outside of crossing borders.
I always think about when you and I were coming up, there was that band from Kalamazoo, Jihad. First time I ever saw that word. That's how I learned that word. And after like the terrorism thing broke out, I was like, fuck. If like
there's ISIS too from Massachusetts.
Yeah, like man, those hardcore, once again, punk rockers, they're always ahead of the curve. They always know the thing that's going to happen before it does. I think that the greatest thing that we could have in this conversation, and this is what I'm most curious about with you. I know that in my life, it's not easy to pursue a dream. And the dream's always kind of evolving. Life's a lot like a video game. You beat a board, another board arises, a new challenge arises.
That's true.
And I know that even though on paper, and a lot of people listen to this show because of my positivity and they believe in my pursuit and they're like sort of following along and they think that I can do it, I have several days where I drown in self-doubt. And I would just love to know, for a guy like you that's just been going and going and grinding, like, how have you not fucking given up?
I mean, at this point, I give up at 45. I don't have any college. I don't have any work experience. Now it's like, I gotta keep saving money.
Yeah.
I gotta keep going. I mean,
do you doubt yourself though? Have you had doubts along the way? Like, I don't know if I can do this another year. And was that like 8 years ago?
That was like a physical thing after my surgery. I thought.
What was the surgery?
I had a 3-level posterior decompression in my neck. So like
I've seen you play enough to know why that happened.
Spinal surgery on my neck. And I think I was a little naive going into it. And when I woke up from it, I was fucked up. And I was really like, is this the end? What the fuck am I going to do? And as I said before, that kind of refocused the band to work a little smarter, not as hard as we had. I mean, sometimes I worry, are we going to fall off? Are people going to care? Are we going to make enough money for 5 people to live off the band? But I guess I'm just reassured. I mean, again, back to, we go play a show in City X and only 80 people show up. Do I freak out? No. I mean, I know we've been doing this for so long that we have a fan base all over. Opportunities are coming. There's always going to be highs and lows. So if I have a shitty day and I get mopey, and even if it's just, why am I in this city? Why? I just want to be in my couch. I don't want to live with these 2 pairs of sneakers I have and there's 3 pairs of underwear. Why am I doing this? I mean, that comes up. But I mean, we're pretty comfortable and confident in ourselves, and that's not like we're the biggest and baddest and coolest and toughest band in the world. We know who we are, and we know what we've done, and we know the size of the band, and I think being comfortable with that keeps you confident enough to push on.
I would love to know, though, on a rough day on tour, which every tour has a couple of rough days, like when you're in the back of the van or in the back of the club and you have the headphones on and it just, it is the 80 people at the show. And it is not the day that you thought it was going to be. And you're also like, man, last time we played Philadelphia, like we played across the street and it was 1,200 kids. And now today we can barely fill this bar on the backside of town. Like, what do you tell yourself in those days to just get past it and to move on to the next day where it is 1,500 kids on the big stage?
Where's the vodka?
Damn it, that's not going to apply to me.
No, I think something too that's important for us. I think there's a lot of bands that would have been a band for 15, 16 years that get asked to play a festival.
Yeah.
And their slot is lower. Maybe it's in the middle of the show. And there are bands that have been around for 16 years that would say, I'm not fucking playing before these bands that have one record out that haven't put in the work we've put in.
Oh, they believe in seniority?
Yeah, and they want to play last. And you know what happens when they play last? Everyone fucking leaves.
Playing last is the worst.
Yeah, so Terror's always been a band smart enough to say, okay, let's play before these bands that are hyped up and hot. Let's play for all those people. Yeah, we're going to get less money, but we're going to be happy when we leave. We're going to sell more merch, and it's going to benefit us to keep the band relevant. And I think that's something that a lot of bands just don't do because they have too much pride or too much ego, and that's something we've never done. I fight to have us play earlier. I want us to open. I want to be direct support. Headlining is hard, and headlining can ruin, I don't want to say ruin your career, but it can, you play enough of those shows where 80 people show up, promoters are like, next time it's going to be 70. Here's $70.
Yeah.
But if you come in like with a band that's going to fill the room and play right before them, you're going to feel better about yourself, and you're going to keep yourself relevant to all the kids that are going to shows.
Headlining's hard because heavy is the head that wears the crown. And if you're main support, you have the most amount of people that will be in the club that evening.
They still have some energy.
They're waiting around. They're not peacing out yet. And you have something that the other band doesn't have. You have the ability to be better than them. You have the ability to steal the show, and then when the other band comes on, it's getting late, they're just kind of going through the motions, and you just blew everybody away, and they're like, I'm good to go. They set through your whole set, they saw 3 of their songs, they left, they went back home. I find that in the middle there is the best place to be, and through my whole career, I've always tried to hit that spot, like, don't shoot for something that you can't reach for because it's so out of your reach. Like, get to what you can get to, and just kill it at that and be good at that and just persevere and move on. And slowly what you can reach out to will get better and better and better. Like, I just think that it's unbelievable that you've been able to go through that grind that is hardcore that long and play the 80 people shows and find the energy to keep coming back and keep coming back. And I guess my biggest curiosity would be, at this moment in your career, what's the dream? Like, if it all went right for Tara, and then this album unlocked the gate, and it was like, oh man, my vision of this is coming true. What does that vision look like? Because as far as hardcore goes, you're the top rung. It doesn't get bigger.
I mean, the dream is...
I'm caught in the hate. I won't apologize. The words of sympathy, absence of thoughts. React without hesitation. Rage has me caught. Total retaliation. It's time to recognize we'll never regret. There's hatred inside, taking over me. Absence of thoughts. React without hesitation. Rage has me caught. Total retaliation.
All right, friends, that's what we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the free portion of today's episode. Don't forget, you can always go over to AIDpodcast.com, become a member of the Circle of Trust to unlock the second part of today's show. If you're just a hardcore fan, I don't mean that to sound disrespectful because I am one too. But if you don't feel like this is your world but you want to hear second part, don't forget, you can always sign up for just a month and download all the episodes that apply to you and then jump ship. That seriously is the easiest way for me to make money. Having ad sponsorships means you have to chase down people for very little money. Selling episodes individually, the math doesn't work out. Like, just sign up, give me the money for a month, go your own way if you don't like it, and we'll call it even Steven. And then I can be here to do another one and maybe catch you down the road. Hope you had a good time listening today. To my Circle of Trust members, don't worry. We've got a lot more coming up for you in part 2. I talked to Scott about his love of hardcore, and we really get going on the idea of how long can this keep going? And all along this way, all along this road, how has he not given up? On AID, over the last 4 years of doing these episodes, you've heard me so many times question every part of my life. And there's something in many of us that just gets us up, gets us keep going, putting one foot in front of the other. But with Scott, it's a different kind of resilience because he's not all over the map. He's focused on one thing and done it quite well and been happy with his level of success. There's not this idea of, I want to go to be the biggest metal band, or I want to headline this. Like, he's exactly where he wants to be. And I find that both fascinating and enlightening. And hopefully you will too in part 2. What do you say we get into it? It's Scott Vogel, AID829. Join the Circle of Trust today, AIDpodcast.com.